If I ask you this, if back in 2001 that we were told that within a decade our country would be led by a left-wing female Prime Minister from the Labor Party promoting offshore processing as our refugee solution, you would have told me that maybe one of those four things would have come true. But many have said that the refugee issue should not be a big issue in Australia, and I agree. It should not be, but it is. This issue has now moved beyond one of boats. It has moved beyond one of the location of processing. It has even moved beyond one of people. This issue has grown to become one about the soul of our country. The issue is about the content of our collective character. It is now a debate about who we are and how we wish to be perceived. We are an intelligent country, and we can engage in difficult debate. Having worked for the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, I know this issue is complicated, and Mitchell is right. This asylum debate is too difficult, and it does our country no good to simply say, stop the boats. But nor does it do justice to a complicated issue to say, just let them land. Any policy that in any way encourages people to jump on a leaky boat to undertake a risky voyage with a high likelihood of death is a bad policy. Can I suggest to you a three-point framework to guide detailed debate around refugees by way of example? Firstly, any policy must have the best interests of humanitarian asylum seekers in mind. That is, asylum seekers in this country, en route, or elsewhere. Secondly, any policy must satisfy legitimate concerns about border security. And thirdly, and critically, and this is where we're failing, any policy must enhance and not detract from Australia's international reputation. I would suggest that framework of humanitarian approach, legitimate concern for border and the image of Australia as a good judge to use when analysing alternative policy suggestions. And if we do this, it soon becomes clear that the current question that we are debating in Australia, the one of location of processing, be it Australia, Malaysia, Nauru or what have you, is actually the wrong question. The harder and more critical question is that of resettlement once a refugee is processed. The back of the people smugglers' business model, I would say to Chris Bowen, is not one of the location of processing, it is resettlement after processing. If you spend 1, 2 or 3 years in a processing centre in Malaysia, get accepted as a genuine refugee, and then have to spend another 2, 3, 4 years waiting for permanent resettlement, of course you're going to look for other solutions. If we satisfy resettlement, we satisfy the issue of boats and we meet the most humanitarian needs for genuine refugees and asylum seekers. The Bali process and the regional cooperation framework it created is a good start to regionally discuss the plethora of complicated issues, from trafficking to law enforcement and permanent solutions for asylum seekers. The government should be given credit for trying to make that process work. However, this forum could be used more to search for lasting solutions on resettlement, and those resettlement issues should be the main focus of Australia's involvement, not the location of processing. I readily admit this is complex, but in today's Australia, complex issues are not framed in a way that we, as a community, can digest, because we are only given sound bites. We must demand of our leaders to give credit where credit is due, build on others' good ideas in order to inspire us to choose between stronger and not fear and fright. It takes character to give credit to an opponent. It takes leadership to set a moral course. We lost that with Tampa. When those 11 years ago we were asked, do we want those types of people here? Why couldn't we have said, people willing to risk their lives to work hard for nothing more than a better future for their children? Yes, We want that sort of person in this country. Wouldn't it be better if our national dialogue was one based on how to accept a fair share in a controlled and fair manner rather than how to keep the people away? Wouldn't it be great if we had a controlled entry policy rather than a border protection policy? The narrative is so important. The approach of stop or let is so important. Tampa was for this nation a turning point. It was when we stopped leading on the basis of hope and optimism and started inspiring through fear. Tampa began a change in our national culture. It challenged our national character, and we are yet to undo that damage. I still have inherent faith that at the end of the day, we, the Australian people, can get it right. I believe that we want again to be inspired to dream, to debate great ideas. Now is the time for us to demand of those in power that they inspire us. And let us start our discussions from the point of strength that we now have. Our economic growth last quarter was 1.2%. Greece, -7%. Our unemployment near 5%. US, near 10%. We are in the ideal future time zone. This should be our country's golden age. Despite current equity market turmoil, this should be the time when we debate a bright future. Our choices should be ones of inspiration. But if we are not careful, instead of this being our golden time, it will be our lost opportunity. Instead of a time where we say yes, it will be a time where we say no, but we must reverse that. My core message is this. Nature abhors a vacuum, and the time limit for the vacuum and quality debate has expired. Our country is not a negative one. We are known as the lucky country, not the grumpy country. We are not the whinging country. We are the one that gets on with it. Negativity is not part of our national character. It is us, though, who decides. We decide who leads us and the circumstances in which they lead. We can and we must make Australia positive again. Thank you.